Imagine a single, gilded crown, once worn by a conqueror who reshaped continents, vanishing without a trace into the sands of time. Or a library, holding the entirety of ancient knowledge, reduced to ashes, its secrets lost forever. These aren't mere myths, they are the chilling realities of history's greatest disappearances. Welcome, seeker of lost wonders, to a journey into the shadows of the past. Today, we embark on an expedition to uncover the legends of artifacts so priceless, so significant, their absence echoes through centuries, begging the question, where did they go? The air in the Andes is thin, biting. But it's not the altitude that chills the conquistadors' blood. It's the gleam. A blinding, impossible gleam, reflecting off a lake shrouded in mist. It's Lake Guatavita, and for Francisco Pizarro's men, it's the gateway to a legend that would consume them, the legend of El Dorado. Imagine this. The year is 1537. Spanish soldiers, hardened by conquest, by the brutal subjugation of the Inca Empire, are parched, weary, and hungry for more. They've plundered gold beyond measure from Cusco, but whispers, persistent and tantalizing, speak of a different kind of wealth. Not just gold, but a kingdom of it. A king, literally covered in gold. The tale comes from the Muisca people, a sophisticated civilization dwelling in the highlands of modern-day Colombia. They speak of a sacred ritual, an initiation ceremony for their new chieftain. This leader, stripped bare, would be covered head to toe in sticky resin, then dusted with pure gold powder. He was, in essence, a living statue of the sun god. But the ritual didn't end there. Accompanied by his most trusted advisors, adorned with emeralds and gold artifacts, he would paddle out to the center of Lake Guatavita. There, in a moment of profound spiritual connection, he would plunge into the icy waters, washing away the gilded shroud. And as the gold dissolved, precious offerings, emeralds, gold figurines, finely wrought jewelry, would be cast into the depths, a sacrifice to the gods. This was El Dorado. Not a city, not a place, but a man. A golden king. And for the Spanish, driven by an insatiable lust for riches, this was the ultimate prize. The descriptions painted by the Muisca, amplified by rumor and greed, conjured images of unimaginable opulence. A king whose very skin was gold. A lake, a sacred burial ground, overflowing with the sacred metal. But the path to this shimmering mirage was fraught with peril. The Muisca were not easily subdued, and the Andean terrain itself was a formidable enemy. Yet, the allure of El Dorado was too powerful to resist. It became an obsession, a siren song that lured explorers deeper and deeper into the unknown, pushing them to the brink of madness. They heard tales of this ritual, the Golden Man, and the offerings. They envisioned chests overflowing, palaces built of solid gold, streets paved with it. They saw themselves as divinely chosen to reclaim this earthly paradise, to return its riches to Christendom. But the reality of their quest would be far more brutal, far more desperate, than any of them could have ever imagined. The legend of El Dorado, the Golden King and his sacred lake, had been whispered for generations. But for these Spanish conquistadors, it was a promise. A promise of unimaginable wealth, a chance to etch their names into history. But was this Golden King a reality, or a carefully crafted illusion? And what price would they truly pay for a treasure that may have never truly existed? For millennia, humanity has gazed at the stars, seeking answers to our origins, our purpose, and our place in the cosmos. But perhaps the greatest mysteries lie not in the heavens above, but in the depths below. For in the vast, unexplored oceans, lie the secrets of civilizations long lost to time, forgotten by the world, and perhaps holding the key to our own understanding. Think of the legends. Tales whispered across continents, echoed in ancient texts, stories of places so grand, so advanced, they seem plucked from the realm of fantasy. But what if these weren't mere myths? What if they were echoes of a reality, a history buried beneath the waves, waiting to be rediscovered? And no legend captures the imagination quite like Atlantis. A name synonymous with lost grandeur, a civilization of unparalleled sophistication, swallowed whole by the sea in a single, cataclysmic day and night. Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, is our primary source, his dialogues Timaeus and Critias painting a vivid picture of this lost world. He describes a powerful naval empire, a society of advanced engineering, a place of immense wealth and noble purpose. Plato tells of a civilization that predated even Athens, a society that challenged the might of the known world. He writes of its capital city, a marvel of concentric rings of land and water, connected by bridges and canals, protected by formidable walls and a massive harbor. Imagine it, gleaming temples adorned with precious metals, bustling marketplaces filled with exotic goods, and a people who, for a time, held sway over a vast dominion. But this wasn't just a story of earthly power. Plato hints at something more, a connection to ancient wisdom, perhaps even a spiritual enlightenment that set them apart. He speaks of their advanced understanding of nature, their mastery of architecture and engineering, their society built on principles of justice and harmony. Yet, this seemingly utopian existence was not to last. The hubris of the Atlanteans, their descent into greed and ambition, ultimately sealed their fate. Plato describes how they grew arrogant, their divine nature corrupted by mortal desires. They sought to conquer others, to expand their empire through force. And then, the end. A sudden, violent upheaval of nature. Earthquakes and floods, a torrent of fire from the heavens, all culminating in the earth opening up and swallowing the entire island continent, sinking it into the unfathomable abyss. Plato states, with chilling finality, that Atlantis vanished beneath the sea, leaving no trace, no tangible evidence to prove its existence. This is the heart of the mystery, the profound conflict. On one hand, we have the detailed accounts of a renowned philosopher, a man not given to flights of fancy. On the other, we have the overwhelming silence of the ocean floor, the lack of any concrete proof that Atlantis ever was. Are Plato's words a philosophical allegory, a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and the inevitable fall of hubris? Or are they a factual account, a lament for a lost chapter of human history, a civilization of such magnitude that its demise plunged the world into a dark age? The allure of Atlantis is the promise of a lost golden age, a glimpse into a past that defies our current understanding of history. It represents the ultimate prize for archaeologists and treasure hunters alike, not just gold or jewels, but the very foundations of civilization, a lost blueprint for human achievement. But the crushing weight of the ocean, the sheer immensity of the task, presents an almost insurmountable obstacle. How can we possibly find a continent that has been submerged for thousands of years, a ghost in the deep, its existence debated, its location unknown, its very memory fading with each passing generation? The whispers of Atlantis are still heard, but the echoes are growing fainter, the possibility of ever finding it, ever proving its existence, slipping further into the realm of the impossible. The Ark of the Covenant. Even the name echoes with a power that transcends centuries. A simple wooden chest, overlaid with gold, it was said to contain the very essence of God's covenant with his people. But this was no mere relic, it was a conduit, a weapon, a symbol of divine favor and terrifying judgment. For centuries, it was the beating heart of ancient Israel, housed within the holiest of places, the tabernacle, and later, the magnificent Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem. Imagine the scene, the scent of incense heavy in the air, the murmur of prayers rising like smoke, and at the very center, bathed in an otherworldly light, the Ark. Two golden cherubim, their wings outstretched, met above its lid, a celestial guard for the sacred tablets within. It was here that the high priest, once a year, would enter the Holy of Holies, a place so sacred, so charged with divine presence, that to gaze upon it unprepared was to invite death. But then, the unthinkable happened. As empires clashed and Jerusalem fell, the Ark vanished. Not destroyed, not captured, but gone. Disappeared. The Babylonians, under Nebuchadnezzar, sacked the city in 587 BCE, plundering its treasures. Yet, when the dust settled, when the looting was done, the Ark was nowhere to be found. This wasn't just a lost artifact, it was a profound spiritual crisis. How could the symbol of God's presence simply cease to be? The silence was deafening. The sacred texts offer surprisingly few details about its fate. Some traditions suggest it was hidden by King Josiah, a righteous ruler who, foreseeing the impending destruction, concealed the Ark to prevent its desecration. Others whisper of a more miraculous departure, perhaps spirited away by divine intervention, a final act of preservation by a God unwilling to let his covenant be profaned. The disappearance of the Ark plunged the Jewish people into a spiritual wilderness. Without their central symbol, their connection to the divine felt fractured, their faith tested to its core. The subsequent centuries saw countless attempts to locate it, fueled by prophecy and desperation. The Samaritans claimed to possess it, a bold assertion met with scorn. Legends grew, spinning tales of its journey across deserts, hidden in mountain caves, even transported to the distant shores of Ethiopia. Each theory, each unfounded claim, only deepened the mystery. The Ark became more than just a lost object, it became a potent metaphor for Israel's lost identity, their fractured covenant. And as the centuries wore on, and the quest continued, a chilling new possibility began to emerge, one that suggested the Ark's disappearance was not merely a loss, but a deliberate act, a cosmic shift with implications far beyond the fate of a single artifact. What if its vanishing was a prelude, a sign that the covenant itself was entering a new, and perhaps more dangerous, phase? The stage was set for a search that would span millennia, a quest for a treasure whose absence left a void in history, and perhaps, in the very fabric of belief. For centuries, humanity has been captivated by the promise of transformation. Not just of lead into gold, but of the very essence of life itself. And at the heart of this pursuit, shrouded in mystery and legend, lies the ultimate prize of alchemy, the Philosopher's Stone. Imagine, if you will, a world where the boundaries of science and magic blurred. A world where learned men, in dimly lit laboratories filled with bubbling retorts and strange apparatus, dedicated their lives to uncovering the secrets of the universe. They weren't just seeking wealth, they were seeking immortality, the cure for all diseases, the key to unlocking divine knowledge. And the Philosopher's Stone, they believed, was the conduit to all of it. Texts from the ancient world, from Hermes Trismegistus to the writings attributed to the prophet Moses, spoke of a substance, a powder or a liquid, capable of transmuting base metals into pure gold. But its powers were said to extend far beyond mere economics. It was the elixir of life, capable of bestowing eternal youth and perfect health. It was the great magnum opus, the great work, the culmination of all alchemical endeavor. From the dusty manuscripts of Alexandria to the bustling workshops of medieval Europe, alchemists toiled. They were a varied lot: scholars, mystics, charlatans, and even kings who secretly funded their alchemical quests. We see figures like Nicolas Flamel, a Parisian scribe whose supposed discovery of the stone in the 14th century became a legend whispered through generations, sparking countless attempts to replicate his feat, or Isaac Newton, the titan of physics, who, in his private moments, dedicated himself to the cryptic symbols and allegorical language of alchemy, searching for the very same secrets. But the path to the stone was fraught with peril. The alchemical process itself was described in stages: the nigredo, the blackening, a phase of dissolution and putrefaction; the albedo, the whitening, a purification; and finally, the rubedo, the reddening, the triumph of creation. These weren't just chemical reactions, they were metaphors for spiritual and philosophical transformation. Failure meant not just a ruined experiment, but often financial ruin, social disgrace, and even accusations of heresy. The stakes were immense. Imagine dedicating your life, your fortune, your very soul to a pursuit that offered no guarantee of success, only the tantalizing possibility of achieving the impossible. The Church often viewed these pursuits with suspicion, as attempts to usurp divine power. Governments saw the potential for counterfeiting immense wealth, and thus, alchemists were sometimes persecuted or forced into secrecy. Yet, the allure of the stone persisted, a siren song for the ambitious and the desperate. It represented not just power over matter, but power over mortality itself. And as the centuries wore on, the legends grew. Tales of secret societies guarding its knowledge, of hidden formulas passed down through clandestine lineages, of catastrophic attempts to create it that unleashed unforeseen consequences. But what if the Philosopher's Stone wasn't just a myth? What if it was real, and its true nature was far more complex, and perhaps, far more dangerous, than anyone ever imagined? The quest for this ultimate artifact had drawn the attention of powerful forces, both earthly and, some claim, far beyond. And in their desperate search, had they stumbled upon something they could not control? something that had been lost not just to time, but deliberately hidden away? The answer to that question would redefine not only the history of alchemy, but the very fabric of reality. The year is 1898. In a dusty attic in Turin, Italy, a lawyer named Secondo Pia is about to stumble upon something extraordinary. He's been commissioned to photograph a relic, a linen cloth bearing the faint imprint of a man's face and body, revered by many as the Shroud of Turin. For centuries, this artifact had been a touchstone for faith, a silent witness to the Passion of Christ. But its authenticity, like so many lost treasures, remained shrouded in doubt. Imagine Pia, his breath misting in the cool, stone-walled space, wrestling with the primitive photographic equipment of the day. His task was simple: capture the image on the shroud. But what he captured was far from simple. As the negatives developed, a startling clarity emerged. The faint, ambiguous markings on the cloth resolved into a hauntingly detailed, three-dimensional image. A man, scourged, crowned with thorns, his body bearing the marks of crucifixion. It was as if the very image of suffering had been imprinted onto the fabric by some unknown, impossible force. This revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific and religious communities. Pia's photographs, published widely, ignited a firestorm of debate. Was this a divine miracle, a miraculous preservation of Christ's likeness? Or was it an elaborate, centuries-old forgery? The shroud, once a quiet object of devotion, was thrust into the harsh spotlight of modern scrutiny, becoming a focal point for a new kind of quest, the quest for definitive proof. The stakes, already high with the potential identification of a legendary lost artifact, now soared. This wasn't just about finding a physical object, it was about validating or debunking the very foundations of Christian belief for millions. Skeptics pointed to the lack of historical documentation for the shroud's existence before the 14th century, a gaping void in its provenance. Where had it been for the first 1,000 years of Christianity? Who possessed it? Then came the scientific analyses, each layer of investigation revealing more questions than answers. In the 1970s, the Shroud of Turin Research Project, a team of scientists from various disciplines, was granted unprecedented access. They subjected the cloth to a battery of tests: radiocarbon dating, microscopy, chemical analysis. The results were, to put it mildly, perplexing. The carbon-14 dating, a method designed to pinpoint the age of organic materials, suggested the shroud was a medieval artifact, created sometime between 1260 and 1390. This, of course, seemed to confirm the skeptics' claims, a clever forgery from the Middle Ages. But the image itself defied easy explanation. How could a medieval artist create such a detailed, almost photographic image without modern technology? And why did the dating seem to contradict the very nature of the image? The mystery deepened. Some scientists argued that the carbon-14 sample might have been contaminated, or that the cloth had been repaired or altered over time, skewing the results. Others proposed fantastical explanations, from electrostatic charges to bursts of radiation, attempting to explain the inexplicable image formation. The shroud, it seemed, was determined to hold on to its secrets. And so, the enigma of the Shroud of Turin grew. It transformed from a potentially lost relic into a scientific paradox, a historical puzzle box that refused to be solved. The quest for its origins, once a pursuit of faith and history, had become a battleground of science and belief. The implications were immense. If it was real, it was the most profound artifact in human history. If it was a fake, it was one of the most audacious hoaxes ever perpetrated. But as we delve deeper, a startling possibility emerges, one that challenges everything we thought we knew about the shroud and its place in the annals of lost treasures. For centuries, the treasures of the world have been coveted, collected, and, sometimes, irrevocably lost. We've followed whispers of vanished empires and plundered tombs, but our quest for history's greatest lost artifacts now leads us to a place of almost unimaginable beauty, a room so breathtaking, it was once described as the eighth wonder of the world. This is the story of the Amber Room. Imagine, if you can, a chamber entirely paneled in amber. Not just decorative panels, but intricate mosaics, gilded carvings, and seemingly endless fields of this fossilized tree resin, glowing with an inner warmth, catching the light like captured sunlight. For over 2 centuries, this was the reality within the palaces of Tsarskoye Selo, near St. Petersburg, Russia. Commissioned by Frederick I of Prussia and gifted to Tsar Peter the Great, it was a masterpiece of 18th-century Baroque art, a testament to human ingenuity and unparalleled luxury. The panels, each weighing hundreds of pounds, were painstakingly assembled by German craftsmen, depicting scenes of mythology, everyday life, and allegorical figures. By the time it was completed in 1770, it was a dazzling spectacle, a testament to the power and opulence of the Russian Empire. Visitors spoke of being utterly mesmerized, lost in its golden embrace. It was a collection of unparalleled artistic and historical significance, a treasure beyond compare. But as the 20th century dawned, the world was plunged into darkness. The storm clouds of war gathered, and the glittering splendor of the Amber Room was about to face its greatest threat. In 1941, as German forces swept across Europe, they reached the gates of Leningrad, modern-day St. Petersburg. The Soviet authorities, desperate to protect their priceless cultural heritage, began a frantic evacuation. Many treasures were moved, hidden, or buried. But the Amber Room, in its sheer scale and fragility, presented an impossible challenge. Despite attempts to dismantle and conceal its components, the sheer enormity of the task, coupled with the relentless advance of the Wehrmacht, meant that most of the panels remained in situ. The Nazis, under the command of Erich Koch, saw it not as a historical artifact to be preserved, but as a spoil of war, a prize to be claimed. They meticulously dismantled what remained, packing the precious amber into over 24 crates. The Amber Room was transported to Königsberg Castle, in East Prussia, where it was reassembled, albeit in a less grand fashion, for the admiration of Nazi officials. For a brief, terrifying period, the lost wonder was found again, displayed as a trophy of conquest. But this reunion was not to last. As the tide of war began to turn, and Allied bombing raids intensified, Königsberg itself became a target. In August 1944, a devastating RAF raid struck Königsberg. The castle, and with it, the Amber Room, was engulfed in flames. Eyewitness accounts are fragmented, conflicting. Some claim the precious amber simply burned, its golden glow turned to ash. Others suggest that before the fires consumed it, some of the panels might have been removed, hidden away by desperate German officials, spirited away into the chaos of a collapsing empire. The official record states the amber room was destroyed. But in the aftermath of the war, and in the decades that followed, whispers began to emerge. Rumors of surviving panels, of hidden caches, of secret locations where the lost treasure might still exist. The fire, it seems, did not extinguish all hope, or all mystery. The fate of the amber room, once a symbol of imperial glory, had become a haunting enigma, a testament to the destructive power of war, and the enduring allure of the impossible to find. And as we delve deeper into the shadows of history, we will uncover more clues, more tantalizing possibilities, that suggest this masterpiece may not be lost forever. The roar of the Colosseum, the incense of ancient temples, the chilling bite of the Eastern Front, all have, at one time or another, been dominated by the whispered legend of a single, potent object. The Spear of Destiny. This isn't just a relic, it's a nexus of power, a fulcrum upon which empires have swayed, a paradox that has haunted believers and skeptics for millennia. Imagine it, a simple piece of iron, perhaps, tipped onto a wooden shaft. Yet, it is said to have drawn blood from the side of Christ as he hung on the cross. A wound that would mark the transition from mortal suffering to divine sacrifice. From that moment, the spear was imbued with a power beyond comprehension, a power that echoed through history, drawing to it those who craved dominion. For centuries, its location was lost, a phantom in the annals of time. Then, like a ghost rising from the ashes, it reappeared. The Holy Roman Emperors, rulers of vast swathes of Europe, claimed it as their own. They believed wielding the spear meant divine right, a mandate from God himself to rule. The Emperor Conrad III, facing a desperate siege during the Second Crusade, is said to have clutched the spear, its presence allegedly bolstering his resolve and turning the tide of battle. This wasn't just a symbol of authority, it was a weapon of psychological warfare, a testament to a power that transcended earthly might. But the spear's allure was not confined to emperors and kings. As the centuries turned, its legend deepened, twisting and morphing with every passing era. It became entwined with prophecy, with the very fabric of fate. Astrologers and occultists, men who delved into the hidden currents of the universe, began to see the spear not just as a historical artifact, but as a key to unlocking destiny itself. They claimed it held the power to shape the future, to control the very stars. Then came the 20th century, a period of unprecedented upheaval and a breeding ground for dangerous ideologies. And once more, the spear of destiny surfaced, this time in the hands of a man whose name would become synonymous with evil. Adolf Hitler. Obsessed with ancient power and arcane lore, Hitler saw in the spear a potent symbol for his own nascent empire. He believed it was his destiny to wield it, to harness its ancient energies and bend the world to his will. In 1938, as Nazi Germany annexed Austria, the Spear of Destiny, then housed in the Hofburg Palace in Vienna, was seized. Imagine the scene: the cold, sterile halls of the palace, the chilling March air outside, and the triumphant march of Nazi soldiers. The spear, once a symbol of divine right, was now a prize of conquest, a tool for a regime built on violence and oppression. Hitler reportedly kept the spear close, moving it from one secure location to another as the war raged across Europe. Was it mere superstition? Or did he truly believe this ancient relic held the power to guarantee his victory? Did he feel its chilling energy coursing through him, a conduit to a power he thought he could control? The implications were terrifying. A megalomaniac, armed with the perceived power of a divine artifact, unleashing devastation upon the world. As Allied forces advanced and the Third Reich crumbled, the spear's fate became a desperate race against time. Where had Hitler hidden it? What horrors had it witnessed in those dark, final days? The answer, it turned out, was more complex and more chilling than anyone could have imagined. Because the spear of destiny, the very object that had witnessed the dawn of Christianity and the rise of empires, was about to fall into the hands of those who sought to bury its secrets forever. And the world would never be the same. Imagine a city bathed in the golden Mediterranean sun, a jewel of the ancient world. Alexandria, Egypt. A beacon of knowledge, a hub of human intellect. And at its heart, a legend whispered through the ages, the Great Library. Not merely a collection of scrolls, but a universe of thought, a testament to humanity's insatiable thirst for understanding. Here, scholars from across the known world gathered, their minds ignited by the accumulated wisdom of civilizations. This was more than just a building, it was an idea made manifest. Picture vast halls, lined floor to ceiling with papyrus scrolls, each one a fragile vessel carrying the dreams, discoveries, and debates of generations. Think of Euclid, his geometry still the bedrock of modern mathematics, walking these very corridors. Imagine Eratosthenes, accurately calculating the circumference of the earth, his calculations etched onto a scroll stored within these hallowed walls. Cleopatra herself, a queen renowned for her intellect, would have seen this edifice as the very soul of her kingdom. But such brilliance, such concentrated power of human knowledge, inevitably attracts shadows. The story of the library's demise is not a single, clean cut, but a slow, agonizing unraveling, a series of wounds that bled out its brilliance over centuries. The first major blow, a wound that would scar the ancient world, came during the tumultuous reign of Julius Caesar. In 48 BC, as Caesar battled for control of Egypt, a fire erupted in the harbor. Accounts from ancient historians, like Plutarch, paint a grim picture of chaos. The flames, fanned by the sea breeze, spread with terrifying speed. While the primary target was the Egyptian fleet, the inferno tragically engulfed parts of the city. And within those burning docks, it's believed, lay a significant portion of the library's irreplaceable collection. We can only imagine the horror. Scholars, their life's work reduced to ash, watching helplessly as centuries of accumulated wisdom turned to smoke. Was it a deliberate act, a casualty of war, or a catastrophic accident? The precise details remain lost to time, obscured by the fog of conflict and the passage of millennia. But the consequence was undeniable, a devastating loss, a gaping wound in the fabric of human knowledge. Yet, the legend of the library persisted. It was rebuilt, or at least its function continued. However, the wounds festered. Later centuries brought new conflicts, new rulers, and new threats. The rise of religious fervor, the suppression of pagan learning, and the relentless march of political upheaval all chipped away at its foundations. Each act of persecution, each forgotten text, was another ember in the slow burning of 1,000 minds. The question that haunts us today is not just if these texts were lost, but what was lost. What scientific breakthroughs, what philosophical insights, what lost histories were consumed by the flames or left to crumble into dust? What secrets of the ancient world, so vital to understanding our own present, were extinguished forever in Alexandria's fading light? The true scale of this loss, the full extent of the knowledge that vanished, remains one of history's most profound and tantalizing mysteries. And as we delve deeper into the tales of lost treasures, we are drawn to the chilling realization that the greatest treasures of all might not be gold or jewels, but the very echoes of human thought, now silenced. For centuries, the whispers of Roanoke have echoed through history, a chilling enigma wrapped in the mists of the New World. We've followed the hopeful pioneers, their dreams of a new life clashing with the harsh realities of a continent teeming with the unknown. But the story of the lost colony isn't just about disappearance, it's about a desperate gamble, a profound betrayal, and a silence that screams louder than any battle cry. Imagine the scene. The year is 1590. John White, the colony's governor, finally returns from England, a 3-year absence fueled by the Spanish Armada and a desperate need for supplies. His heart pounds with a mixture of dread and fierce hope. His granddaughter, Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas, is among those he left behind. He scans the shoreline, his eyes straining through the salty spray. Tranquil harbor, the settlement he helped build, should be bustling with life. But what greets him is emptiness. The houses stand, weathered and abandoned. No joyous shouts of welcome, no familiar faces peering from doorways. Only the mournful creak of timbers in the wind and the relentless wash of the Atlantic. White's initial relief that the colonists weren't attacked by hostile natives quickly sours into a gnawing fear. This isn't the aftermath of a massacre. This is something far more unsettling. Something deliberate. His search party fans out across the island. The houses are undisturbed, no signs of forced entry, no scattered belongings that would suggest a hasty flight from an attacker. It's as if the inhabitants simply vanished. But then, a discovery. Carved into a tree trunk, a single, cryptic word, Croatoan. And nearby, on a palisade post, the same symbol. Croatoan. It was the name of a nearby island, now known as Hatteras, and the name of the Native American tribe who lived there. The very tribe with whom the Roanokeans had maintained a fragile, yet generally peaceful, relationship. John White's instructions for any emergency departure were clear. If the colonists were forced to relocate, they were to carve a Maltese cross above their chosen new home. But there was no cross. This absence of a cross is a chilling detail. It suggests not an enforced evacuation, but a voluntary departure. But why? And where did they go? Were they taken in by the Croatoan people? Had they integrated, their English identities slowly fading into the vibrant tapestry of Native American life? Or was this a desperate plea, a message left for white's eyes alone, hinting at a darker truth. The stakes were immeasurably high. Not just for the lost colonists, but for England's colonial ambitions. This wasn't just a failed outpost, it was a symbol. Its success or failure would dictate the future of English exploration and settlement in North America. If Roanoke was truly lost, swallowed by the wilderness or by a hostile force, it would be a devastating blow, a chilling testament to the dangers of this untamed continent. The surviving colonists had vanished. Their fate, a question mark branded onto the very soul of early American history. But the mystery was far from over. The word CRTN, though seemingly a clue, only deepened the enigma. Was it a sanctuary, or a siren's call leading them to an even greater peril? As White and his men stared at the silent word, a terrifying realization began to dawn. The exodus from Roanoke might have been voluntary, but it was far from peaceful. It was, perhaps, an escape. An escape from something that haunted them, something that left no trace but a single, chilling word. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, ominous shadows across the deserted settlement, John White knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that the true story of Roanoke was only just beginning to unfold. For centuries, whispered legends of lost treasures have ignited imaginations, drawing explorers, adventurers, and treasure hunters into a relentless pursuit. We've chased the Ark of the Covenant, the Amber Room, the crown jewels of legendary kings. But as we delve deeper into the labyrinth of history, we uncover a truth far more profound, and perhaps, far more elusive. The greatest treasures aren't always made of gold or adorned with jewels. Sometimes, they are echoes. Fragments of knowledge, lost technologies, forgotten wisdom. In our quest for the tangible, we've often overlooked the intangible. The ghosts in the machine of history. These aren't spectral apparitions, but rather the lingering imprints of past civilizations, their achievements, their insights, buried not just by time, but by our own limited understanding. Consider the Antikythera mechanism, a breathtakingly complex astronomical calculator from ancient Greece, unearthed in a shipwreck over a century ago. It was so far ahead of its time, it took decades for scientists to even comprehend its purpose, let alone how it was constructed. It hinted at a level of scientific sophistication we barely dared to imagine existed in the ancient world. And it's not alone. Across the globe, tantalizing clues emerge from the earth and the sea. Ancient texts speak of flying machines, of advanced metallurgy, of astronomical knowledge that rivals our own. Were these mere myths, poetic exaggerations? Or did they represent a genuine, but lost, understanding of the world? The implications are staggering. If we could recover these lost pieces of humanity's intellectual heritage, what could they teach us? What forgotten paths to progress might they illuminate? The stakes are no longer just about finding a lost artifact for historical curiosity. It's about reclaiming a lost part of ourselves. It's about understanding the full trajectory of human ingenuity. But the search is fraught with peril. Not just the physical dangers of exploration, but the intellectual challenge of deciphering the past, of avoiding confirmation bias, of distinguishing genuine clues from wishful thinking. And the deeper we go, the more we realize how much we don't know. The historical record is a palimpsest, layers upon layers of forgotten stories, of erased achievements. We are like archaeologists excavating a single site, only to realize the true city lies buried beneath, its secrets guarded by millennia of silence. We've found the fragments, the tantalizing hints, but the full picture, the grand tapestry of lost human genius, remains just beyond our grasp. But what if the greatest lost artifact isn't a thing at all? What if it's a place? A repository of knowledge so vast, so significant, that its loss has profoundly shaped our present. Legends speak of such a place, a hidden library, a mythical city, a sanctuary of ancient wisdom. A place that, if found, could rewrite everything we believe we know about our past. And the latest clues suggest it might be closer than we ever imagined. Closer, and more dangerous to find than any treasure of gold. For centuries, humanity has chased shadows. We've scoured deserts, plumbed ocean depths, and deciphered cryptic clues, all in pursuit of treasures lost to time. The Ark of the Covenant, El Dorado, the Amber Room, each promised riches, power, and a glimpse into vanished worlds. But as we've seen, the thrill of the hunt often outpaces the certainty of discovery. We began this journey with a question: what is the true treasure of history? Was it the glittering gold of a lost city, the divine power of a sacred relic, or the artistic brilliance of a stolen masterpiece? We've followed the trails of countless legendary artifacts, each whispering tales of ambition, faith, and sometimes, sheer destruction. We've stood in the dust of forgotten empires and imagined the awe of those who once possessed these wonders. But what if the ultimate prize isn't an object at all? What if, in our relentless search for the tangible, we've overlooked the intangible? The pursuit of these lost treasures, though often fruitless in terms of recovered artifacts, has yielded something far more profound: knowledge. Think of the archaeologists who meticulously sifted through ancient ruins, not just for a specific artifact, but to understand the lives of those who came before. Their painstaking work, even when it didn't unearth the legendary prize, built the very foundations of our understanding of human civilization. Every shard of pottery, every buried foundation, every faded inscription tells a story. These are the true artifacts, not always spectacular, but vital. Consider the scholars who pore over ancient texts, seeking clues to lost wonders. Their dedication, their intellectual rigor, is a treasure in itself. They decipher languages, piece together fragments of history, and connect dots that span millennia. The knowledge they gain, the narratives they reconstruct, are invaluable contributions to our collective human story. And what of the stories themselves? The legends of lost treasures, whether real or imagined, have fueled our imaginations for generations. They've inspired art, literature, and countless expeditions. These tales, passed down and retold, are a testament to our enduring curiosity and our innate desire to explore the unknown. They are a cultural inheritance, as valuable as any gold or jewel. The Amber Room, perhaps the most famous of these lost treasures, remains a potent symbol. Its disappearance during the chaos of World War II evokes a profound sense of loss. Yet, the efforts to reconstruct it, the historical research involved, the very idea of its beauty and craftsmanship, continue to fascinate. The story, the mystery has become the treasure. The quest for the Ark of the Covenant, imbued with religious and historical significance, highlights a different kind of enduring value. While the physical artifact may never be found, the faith, the rituals, and the historical context surrounding it continue to resonate. The pursuit itself prompts reflection on belief systems and the power of shared cultural narratives. So, as we conclude our exploration of history's most elusive treasures, let us acknowledge that the greatest discoveries are not always measured in carats or pounds. The true treasure lies in the journey of discovery itself. It is in the knowledge gained, the cultures illuminated, the human spirit of inquiry that drives us forward. It is in the stories that connect us to our past, and in the enduring mysteries that continue to capture our imagination. These are the legacies that truly endure, the treasures that can never be truly lost.